Let's compare the new Samsung A56 versus S25 and see if it's actually worth overpaying for the S25. This is a spec I have on both phones, and both phones I purchased myself with my own money, and for the A56 few days ago I paid 390 euros, and the S25 at the current moment can be purchased for around 670 euros, so there is almost 2 times price difference between these phones. Over here I have the S25 and over here the A56. The color on them look almost identical, except the back of the A56 is reflective, whereas the back on the S25 is fully matte, so it actually also feels slightly different when you touch the back. And this is what the cameras on them look like. When it comes to the build quality overall and how they actually feel in hand, then actually I would say the A56, even at least for me, feels more premium. Maybe due to this like frame so finish. On the A56 we essentially have like brushed metal here, so it's kind of unfinished, but on this S25 I suspect maybe it's like painted metal or something like that basically, so it feels slightly different. Basically this feels more natural, whereas this one again like it has some kind of finish basically. The buttons on both phones are actually fully metal, and on the top we do not have headphone jack on any of them. On this side, as you can see, nothing here as well, and on the bottom, as you can see, again very similar. So we have the speaker here, a type C, and also the SIM card slot. When it comes to the overall comfort and how it feels in the hand, due to the smaller size on the S25, this feels much better in hand. Again, solely due to the size essentially. This phone obviously is a proper big boy and it feels, yeah, like a large device essentially. And I really like the overall compactness of the S25. Absolutely love the size, and also when you actually place it in your pocket also feels very nice. So obviously this, yeah, it's kind of big boy essentially. When it comes to the thickness, both are almost really the same. So the S25 is 7.2 millimeters I think, and this one 7.4. So really, but in reality you can't really tell difference. Even though the A56 is almost 2 times cheaper, I actually prefer the build quality of the A56 and also how it looks like. On the front of the A56 we get 6.7-inch display, which is 120 Hz, and this is Super AMOLED display, and overall the quality of the display is absolutely awesome. On the S25 we get 6.2-inch display, and this again is 120 Hz, and this is LTPO panel, so technically a slightly better panel, but in real life you can't even tell much of a difference between them. And the peak brightness on the S25 is around 30% brighter than on the A56, but in real life, in direct sunlight, as you can see, you can't really tell much difference between them. Maybe over here you can tell that the brightness is slightly better on the S25. When it comes to speaker quality, they both have stereo speakers, so one speaker over here and another over here, and it's the same on the A56. When it comes to the speaker quality, I would say they are pretty much equal. Personally, I actually prefer the speaker sound quality on the A56. Maybe technically in some areas the S25 speaker is maybe crisper, but again overall basically the sound quality I actually prefer from this A56, so definitely the speaker is amazingly good, and I didn't really expect to get such nice speaker on such phone essentially. So again, if I had to pick basically on which phone to listen music on loudspeaker, I would actually go for the A56. I personally prefer that one. Next, when it comes to performance, even though the S25 actually gets a brand new Elite processor compared to the A56 on paper, there is massive difference when you actually check the, for example, Geekbench essentially. So if we check the results essentially, So you can see basically there is actually crazy difference, almost like 3 times difference. So to the raw horsepower essentially. Also on the S25 we get 12 gigs of RAM, whereas on this one 8 gigabytes of RAM. However, actually when it comes to real life usage for 95% tasks, really I do not see that kind of like drastic difference between them. When you like simply browse the phones, really both of them pretty much feel almost the same. So if you maybe compare them side by side, then you can definitely tell that there is slight performance boost basically on these phones. But really this A56 feels absolutely smooth in every way. And let's open few apps side by side and see how they perform. First, camera. As you can see, definitely on the S25 it was able to launch the camera faster, for example Play Store. Again, definitely on the S25. Again, as you can see, S25. It wins pretty much everywhere. But really, is that a huge difference? I do not think it's a huge difference. As you see, basically on such basic app, it was pretty much the same. As you see, for basic stuff, it's pretty much the same. Next, let's open some games. First, Subway Surfers. So again, there is basically like almost 3 times difference in raw horsepower. But as you see, a game open time really, is that a difference? Yeah, I do not think that's any like real, like meaningful difference actually. And let's open heavier game. As you saw, almost the same really. And that is really the case with the A56, even though on the paper it appears much weaker, but really in like 99% of the cases really it's almost really the same. So of course if you actually use a S25, then you will actually appreciate how responsive and how instant everything is. So it's battery smooth and absolutely love the smoothness on this phone, combined with a great form factor. Yeah, it's absolute joy to use. But this one really, for 99% of tasks, really, unless you compare them side by side, you won't really see much difference. Again, we have 120Hz display and both phones actually feel mega smooth. When it comes to battery and charging, the S25 gets 25 watts of wired charging speeds, and also we actually have 15 watts of wireless charging speeds. So you see, you can actually charge it wirelessly as well. But the problem is we actually do not have Qi 2. So you will need to get a case that actually has got magnets inside if you want to use one of those magnetic power banks or MagSafe accessories. On the A56 we actually have 45 watt of wired charging, so the charging speeds are obviously much better, and again the charging speeds on the S25 I think are completely pathetic. On this one we do not actually have wireless charging of any kind actually. When it comes to the actual battery life, even though I have had the A56 only for a few days, at the moment really basically they appear to be the same, so really the battery drain appears to be almost the same on both, even though the battery capacity on the S25 is 4000 mAh and the battery capacity on this one is 5000, so decent improvement in size. But again, the like CPU on the S25 is very power efficient and it doesn't really consume much energy. So overall I would say they're pretty much same when it comes to actual battery life. And when it comes to all phones, I really think Samsung phones, especially these Samsung budget phones, yeah, have the best battery life out of all phones in market. When it comes to the camera performance, you would expect the S25 to be much better than the A56, since obviously it's a flagship phone, but that's actually not the case. If you compare the S25 to my Pixel or iPhone, then this is dead last. So the cameras are absolutely pathetic for the price of this phone. And actually in a lot of areas, basically the cameras actually on the A56 are better, especially when it comes to exposure and bright objects. The S25 completely can't handle them at all. When it comes to the main camera sensor, as you can see, we have 15 megapixels on both, and also the sensor size is actually the same, but actually we have different chips inside. And also on the S25 we actually have telephoto lens as well. On this one we actually do not have telephoto lens. When it comes to different camera modes, we almost have the same camera modes on both. Only the Pro video mode actually on the S25 is more advanced. As you can see, we have like 3 times more options and to change things. Also we can record in log as well on this phone actually, and also we can record in 8K resolution as well. So we do not get log, and the maximum resolution on this is 4K 30 frames per second. And let's check out the quality on both of the cameras. Also focusing speed and exposure. And this over here, for example, is Samsung A16, so even cheaper than A56. And again, this is what you can expect to get if you want to record videos like this with these cameras. Previously I was recording the video with my Google Pixel phone. And let's check out the quality on both of the cameras. Also focusing speed and exposure. And this over here, for example, is Samsung A16, so even cheaper than A56. And again, this is what you can expect to get if you want to record videos like this with these cameras. Previously I was recording the video with my Google Pixel phone, and this video recorded outdoors. Also let's face sun and check for flares. I'm facing sun directly. And also let's check for fine detail. Also let me try it around a bit. And this video recorded outdoors. Also let's face sun and check for flares. I'm facing sun directly. And also let's check for fine detail. Also let me try it around a bit. And overall, I'm extremely disappointed with the camera performance on the S25. I think they're completely pathetic, and in a lot of areas, actually the A56 is even better if you compare to like Pixel phones, so something like Pixel 9, 9 Pro or 8, then they completely destroy the S25, and also same for iPhones. There isn't even competition. Also, for example, if I compare the S25 versus my extremely old Pixel 6a, then even my old Pixel 6a actually gets better results. And overall, which phone should actually get? Well, I would say for most people probably the A56 provides much better value for money, and really the build quality is absolutely insane. So personally, I actually like the design and build quality of this A56 over the S25, but again, maybe my personal preference, both are actually really decent quality. When it comes to the performance, even though the S25 on paper actually appears much better, in reality for like 90% of tasks, really you will really have to struggle to actually find the difference. Of course, maybe some uploading times you can see a difference if you put them side by side, but again, you really have to put them side by side to notice difference. And I would say probably the biggest difference you would actually notice day to day, I would say, is the compact size of the S25. Absolutely love the size of the S25, and it's easily one of the most comfortable phones to hold and use. It's that good, so absolutely love it. If it also had a camera that actually matched other flagship phones, then this phone would be 10 out of 10. And overall, I think Samsung has done excellent job with the A56, so it's pretty much perfect in most ways, especially considering the price of it. I think for the price, it's absolute bargain really, and yeah, for 90% of people, I really think this phone will be enough, so it's absolutely great phone. Anyway, good luck.